It's February 8th, 1945. A Soviet fighter pilot has 3 days left to live. For the past week, SS guards have beaten him on a schedule. Morning, noon and night. It's called the 10 days of life punishment. It's day 7 of a death sentence for Mikhail Deviatev. Almost no one survives to day 10. He's a prisoner on a restricted island where the Nazi regime builds and tests its V-2 rockets in total secrecy. A facility so classified that the men who maintain it are never meant to leave alive. Right now, 200 meters from his work detail, a Heinkel HE-111 bomber sits on the tarmac with a full tank of fuel. Deviatev has flown combat missions since the first day of the German invasion, but he's never flown one of these. He's 60 pounds underweight, he can barely stand, and in 6 minutes, the guards come back from lunch. To understand what happens next, you need to know what the Germans don't, who they're locked inside their most secret base. This is the story of the craziest Nazi camp escape in history. Mikhail Deviatev is born into a peasant family in the village of Tobeyevo. At 17, an air ambulance lands in a field outside his village. He watches it lift off and disappear. And from that moment, the sky is all he wants. By 1940, he's a fighter pilot. And by June 22nd, 1941, the very first day of the German invasion, he's in combat. Mission after mission, Deviatev proves himself. But during a dogfight against a superior number of Messerschmitts, a burst of fire tears into his left leg. The injuries are severe enough to ground him, and he's reassigned to a slow-speed aviation unit far from the front lines. Most men would accept this fate, but he refuses. He fights his way back through recovery, through bureaucracy, and by May 1944, he's cleared for combat. His next mission is on July 13th. It will be his last. A Bell P-39 Air Cobra cuts through the skies above Ukraine. At the controls is Flight Commander Mikhail Deviatev. He's part of a fighter group tasked with intercepting a German Junkers bomber raid. This is his 4th mission for the day. As he approaches his target, he spots tiny silver specks against the glare. Bombers with Bf-109 escorts, tucked high into the sun. Classic Luftwaffe. A pair of 109s peel off, treading altitude for speed, diving straight for him. Deviatev yanks a P-39 into a hard left turn, nose down to hold speed, the G-load pressing him into the seat. Tracers rake past the canopy. The Germans fire in a high-speed diving pass, then climb back up. 109 overshoots slightly. Deviatev rolls and dives under the German's flight path, chasing the German's tail in a twisting spiral. Each pilot rolling to keep out of the other's crosshairs. A second 109 drops in from above. Deviatev is about to be bracketed. He shoves a stick forward. The P-39 nosedives toward the fields. The earth rises fast. He pulls up at 500 meters and flattens into a high-speed chase. He tries one last move, a zoom climb, then a barrel roll to force the 109 to overshoot. He pulls up 30 degrees and rolls right, but the timing is off by half a second. The enemy pilot stays outside his roll and slides back onto his 6. Rounds slam into the fuselage and wing root. The cockpit fills with smoke. Oil splatters the windscreen, and fire blooms along the engine. He yanks the canopy release, rolls the aircraft to clear the tail, and bails out as his burning P-39 spirals into the fields below. He lands in German-occupied territory, unconscious and bleeding. The next 7 months, will be his worst. Since waking up in German hands, Devyatev has been transferred from camp to camp, and after a failed escape attempt, the Germans flag him as a flight risk and send him somewhere worse, Sachsenhausen, a death camp north of Berlin. Here, Soviet pilots are executed on arrival. If his identity is discovered, his fate will be no different. With the help of fellow inmates and Camp Underground, Devyatev switches his identity papers with a deceased Soviet infantryman. A dead man's name is all that stands between him and a bullet. It works. The SS guards never check twice. But Sachsenhausen isn't his last stop. He's transferred again, this time to a place that doesn't officially exist, Karlshagen, a labor camp on the island of Usedom, directly adjacent to the Peenemünde Research Center, where the Nazi regime develops and tests its V-2 rockets, the weapons Hitler calls his vengeance against the Allies. Peenemünde runs on prisoner labor, and Devyatev is no exception. His group clears unexploded bombs, builds roads, and maintains runways. The most dangerous work in the camp, to say the least. They're given just enough food to keep working and nothing more. Day by day, the man wastes away. Every day, his work detail walks him past the flight line. He watches the ground crews, the taxi patterns, the fuel loads. He memorizes the layout. No one notices a starving prisoner staring at the bombers. One evening, Devyatev overhears a prisoner named Makarin recruiting men to collaborate with the Nazis.
You're selling us out to the people who starve us?
Unable to contain his anger, Devyatev beats Makarin to a pulp, and the guards make him pay for it. The punishment has a name: the 10 days of life. Devyatev already knows the rules. He watched 2 men go through it last month. Neither made it past day 5. Devyatev is now on the clock. But somewhere between the beatings, while his body is shutting down, a thought crystallizes: escape or die on day 10. There is no third option. He finds 2 men who are already planning to run, Sokolov and Krivonogov. They plan to steal a boat and cross the strait.
A boat? They'll catch you before you reach the other side. There's a bomber on the airfield. I can fly it.
You've flown one of those before?
No, but I can get it off the ground.
7 other men agree to join. 10 prisoners total. They know they'll probably die in their attempt. But if they stay, they die for certain. However, they need to answer one question. How do 10 starving men on the most heavily guarded weapons facility in Nazi Germany steal a bomber in broad daylight? It's February 8th, 1945, day 7 of Devyatev's 10-day punishment. It's business as usual, and Devyatev's group is once again deployed to clean up airfields at the research center. Devyatev and his crew wait patiently for the right moment. At noon, most guards leave for lunch. One SS guard remains to watch the group. This is the perfect moment.
Now.
Ivan Krivonogov sneaks up behind the guard and strikes him down with a sharpened crowbar. Peter Kuragin slips into the dead man's uniform and marches the other 9 prisoners across the tarmac, heading toward the bomber,
Los, schneller!
hoping the distant guards won't notice. Devyatev reaches the cockpit hatch, grips the handle and twists, but the cockpit is sealed from the inside. The guards could return from their break at any time.
We need to go back.
Crowbar. Give me the crowbar.
Devyatev grabs the crowbar, drives it through the fuselage skin, and the metal screams. If a guard hears this, it's over. He widens the hole, shoves his arm through, and his fingers find the interior lever. He pulls and it opens. He throws himself into the pilot's seat. The others squeeze in behind him. Devyatev flips a master switch, but nothing happens. The panel is dead. His eyes drop to the battery compartment.
There's no battery.
For a moment, he's certain this is where it ends, but he forces himself to think.
Find me a power trolley, now.
The men search the surrounding area, and Krivonogov finally spots a power trolley. Without wasting time, they wheel the cart to the plane and connect it to the aircraft's electrical network. Devyatev tries again. The panel lights up and the engines roar to life.
Get in, everyone in.
Devyatev has flown single-engine fighters his whole career. He's never touched a twin-engine bomber. Nevertheless, he pulls the throttle levers forward. The plane begins to roll down the runway, but doesn't attain flying speed. His foot catches the left brake by mistake. The right engine surges, and the bomber spins on the apron like a top. The German sentries realize what's happening. Devyatev discovers that the elevator trimmer is set to the landing position, which forcefully pins the nose of the plane to the ground. He releases it. The bomber burrows down the runway a second time, almost plowing through the guards. The ones still standing open fire into the cockpit. Devyatev pulls a control yoke, but he can't pull it back far enough. Weeks of starvation have left him too weak.
Pull! Pull!
Krivonogov, Sokolov, and Kutygin throw themselves at the yoke and pull together with everything they have left. The runway disappears beneath them, and the bomber lifts off. Devyatev pushes into the dense cloud layer, blind, no instruments he trusts, nothing but gray. He holds a heading and counts seconds. If he's drifting east, they fly back into Germany. If he's drifting north, they hit the Baltic Sea. The Nazis scramble Ju-88 aircraft to pursue them. Minutes pass. No cannon fire, no shadows in the gray. The fighters sent to intercept them never find them. They've escaped Nazi Germany, but what they don't know is their own country will treat them worse. As they cross into Soviet territory, anti-aircraft crews spot the German bomber. They do exactly what they're trained to do. They open fire. Devyatev has no radio, and therefore no way of identifying himself. All the Soviets see is the enemy in what appears to be an attack on their positions. Anti-aircraft shells tear through the right wing, and 2 escapees are wounded. Devyatev scans the ground. The landing gear is gone, shredded by flak. He spots a snow-covered field south of the Golan and lines up. He bleeds the airspeed. The altimeter drops. 50 meters, 30, then 10. The bomber hits the snow belly fast. The aircraft tears across the field, throwing snow and dirt. The fuselage buckling and grinds to a stop. Soldiers of the 61st Soviet Army immediately surround the bomber. Devyatev convinces them that he and his crew have just escaped a Nazi death camp. At first, they're celebrated as heroes. But Soviet intelligence gets involved. The authorities don't believe a word of it. 10 emaciated prisoners hijacking a bomber from a top-secret base sounds impossible, unless the Nazis let them go. The men must be German plants, so they think. 7 of the 10 escapees are sent to penal battalions. 5 are killed in action within months. They survived a death camp, they stole a bomber, and their own country sent them back to die. For 12 years, Devyatev lives as a convicted traitor in his own country. But in 1957, a phone call changes everything. Sergei Korolev, the chief architect of the Soviet space program, personally intervenes. Korolev understands something the interrogators never did. When Devyatev escaped from Peenemünde, he brought back the exact coordinates of the Nazi V-2 launch sites. Without those coordinates, the Soviet rocket program that launched Yuri Gagarin into space might have been delayed. The escape that was dismissed as suspicious is now recognized as one of the most daring in military history. On February 15, 1957, Devyatev is awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union, 12 years after the escape that earned it. After everything, the camps, the escape, 12 years as a traitor, Devyatev becomes the captain of the Soviet Union's first passenger hydrofoil. The man who stole a bomber to survive now carries passengers across peaceful waters. In the summer of 1999, he travels to Germany and meets Gunther Hobom and Max Meyer, the Luftwaffe pilots dispatched to shoot him down 54 years earlier. The men who once hunted him through the skies now stand beside him, no longer enemies, just survivors. Devyatev lived to the age of 84 and passed away in November 2002. A prisoner, a pilot, a traitor, a hero, depending on who tells the story. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is Cody.